I experienced difficulties with my girlfriend Lindsay as our relationship had deteriorated. Communication between us became scarce. The trouble began when I heard rumors of her involvement with another man. When I confronted her, she denied it, but in my frustration, I spoke hurtful words, leading to a significant argument. Although I apologized afterwards, our connection was irreparably strained. I became convinced of her affair when I once saw her holding hands with the other man. Deep down, I realized our relationship was over, but I wasn't prepared to end it immediately. I was just not ready yet. As I hesitated, our distance only grew. She frequently arrived home late, claiming she was spending time with friends. That afternoon, I pulled into the gas station in my neighborhood to refuel. As I was filling up my tank, I noticed a car pulling into the station. It caught my attention because it didn't stop in a designated parking spot or line up behind other vehicles. When the driver stepped out of the car, a sudden rush of recognition hit me. It was the man my girlfriend had an affair with. He began walking towards me. As he reached behind his back, alarm bells rang in my head. Instinctively sensing danger, I sprinted toward the store. 2 gunshots pierced the air, and a sharp pain seared through my waist. I had been shot. Desperately, I aimed to reach the store, knowing the owner kept a firearm under the counter. With every ounce of strength, I pushed open the door, only to be met with another agonizing sensation in my shoulder, causing me to collapse upon entering. Gasping for breath, I cried out for help, dragging myself across the floor. Moments later, the owner rushed to my aid, wielding a gun of his own. The assailant fled in his car, prompting the store owner to call the police. Despite the pain, I remained conscious as we awaited the ambulance. Rushed to the hospital, I underwent surgery to address my injuries. Upon awakening in the hospital bed, the doctor provided a detailed assessment of my condition. Thankfully, the bullets had narrowly missed major arteries, and I was assured of a swift recovery. When I awoke next morning, detectives entered my hospital room to deliver news of the shooter's arrest. Shockingly, they revealed that my girlfriend had falsely accused me of physical abuse, inciting his violent intentions. I was dumbfounded by the revelation. Never had I laid a hand on her. While our final argument involved heated exchanges, it never escalated to physical violence, especially considering both parties were engaged in verbal sparring. The detectives proceeded to inquire further, delving into the details of the incident. Upon my discharge from the hospital, I discovered that both individuals had been arrested, only to be released on bail shortly after. Learning of the shooter's affiliation with the gang, I made the decision to relocate to the East Coast, seeking refuge with my uncle for safety. After high school, I landed a job as a driver at a dealership. Determined to turn my life around, I enrolled in evening classes at the city college to further my education. Eventually, my hard work paid off, leading to a promotion in dealership administration. Meeting my wife was a turning point. Our relationship blossomed after she purchased a car from the dealership where I worked. She was a recent dental assistant graduate, and our connection was instant. Within a year, we exchanged vows and started a new life together. Despite financial challenges, having her by my side made everything worthwhile. However, our relationship faced hurdles when she began a demanding dental nurse apprenticeship, leading to increased time apart. Despite our efforts to cherish weekends and holidays, the strain began to show. As time went on, communication dwindled, and rumors surfaced about her relationship with a coworker. Despite my attempts to salvage our relationship through heartfelt conversations and couples therapy, our bond continued to deteriorate. The stress affected my sleep and led me to seek solace in weed, a decision that only added to our troubles. Despite my efforts, our relationship couldn't withstand the pressure, and she initiated divorce proceedings. One morning, I woke up feeling groggy, attributing it to the weed I had smoked the night before. However, the severity of the hangover seemed unusual. As I made my way to the living room, I found my wife preparing to leave for work. I informed her that I would be taking the day off before she departed. I called my office to notify them of my absence, but as I spoke, I felt my hands growing clammy, and my speech became difficult to articulate. I managed to utter the word help before losing consciousness. I woke up in the hospital, where the doctor informed me that I had experienced an overdose and nearly didn't make it. My colleague had called the police, saving my life. I found it hard to believe, considering I had only smoked weed the night before. I began to wonder if it had been laced with something else. The police arrived later and questioned me about my drug use. I informed them that I had only used weed. They conducted a drug test earlier, and to my surprise, it was discovered that I had overdosed on fentanyl. I insisted it was impossible, but they explained that they would investigate the matter thoroughly as fentanyl-laced marijuana is a serious issue. During my recovery, my wife's presence was scarce, and when she was around, her attention seemed elsewhere. It became evident to me that our relationship had reached its end. After some contemplation, I returned home with a newfound determination to change my circumstances. Accepting the reality of our impending divorce, I also made the conscious decision to quit smoking weed. I was summoned to the police station twice to aid in the investigation. 3 weeks later, I was stunned by the news of my wife's arrest. Our divorce proceedings were already underway, and we were no longer cohabiting. She was charged with attempted murder against me, with investigations uncovering her use of fentanyl patches to incapacitate me, while I slept under the influence of weed. The revelation left me in disbelief. How could she contemplate such a heinous act? While she never admitted guilt, the evidence overwhelmingly pointed to her involvement. It appeared that her motive stemmed from my hesitancy to finalize the divorce. This rationale was unfathomable to me. Even though I wasn't fully committed to the divorce, I had never taken a firm stance against it. I simply wanted to explore all possible options before deciding. Further revelations unveiled her infidelity and her intention to abandon our marriage for another man. On the night of the incident, she was under the influence of Molly, a recent addiction of hers, which likely influenced her actions. The situation seemed surreal. A narrative of two individuals consumed by drug-induced decisions. She was subsequently handed a 20-year prison sentence for her actions. In light of these tumultuous events, I made the conscious choice to start afresh in a new city. It was time to leave behind the chaos and forge ahead with my life.